Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to continue talking about fractions. We know that a fraction is a part of a whole. So I have 4 circles here and I've divided them into parts. They were a whole circle and then I cut them into parts or into fractions. We also notice that the fractions are divided into equal parts. So to be a fraction, they are equal. So let's go ahead and take a look at our circles that I've divided. This circle I've divided into 2 parts. I've divided them into halves. This circle I've divided into 3 parts. So they're divided into thirds. This one's divided into 4 parts or fourths. Sometimes we can say quarters. This one's divided into 5 parts or fifths. So when I write a fraction, I am going to have a numerator, that's the numeral on the top, and I'm going to have a denominator, the numeral that is down under the horizontal line. So it's under the line. So in my first circle, I've divided that circle into 2 parts. So the number at the bottom are how many parts I have. I have 2 parts. One of these parts is half. It's 1 out of 2 parts. So I would say this part is 1/2. This part is also a half. This circle, it was cut into 3 parts. One of these parts would be 1 part out of 3 parts. This would be a third. But this section is also a third, as well as this section. I have 3 thirds that make up this whole circle. I've cut it into 3 equal parts. Each of these parts is called a third. Let's take a look at this one. The denominator would be 4. I've divided that circle into 4 parts. One of these parts would be a fourth. So this part is a fourth, this is a fourth, this is a fourth, and this is 1/4. This circle I've divided into 5 parts. My denominator would be a 5. This piece, one piece, would be 1/5, 1 part out of 5 parts. So this would be 1/5. So I'll even write it right on here. This is a fifth. Whoa. Each of these pieces would be 1/5. So today we are going to learn how to compare 2 or more unit fractions of the same size. Now, we already know that we've divided all of our circles into equal parts. So today we're going to talk about a unit fraction, and we're going to compare unit fractions. But before we begin, we need to understand what a unit fraction is. Now, I have a chart up here that tells me what a unit fraction is. So I want you to read it with me out loud. All fractions that have a 1 as the numerator are unit fractions. So if I take this piece, I know this is 1/2 half, it would be 1 over 2. This is a unit fraction. Unit fractions are the name of one part of a whole. The denominator will tell you how many parts the whole is split into. Let's take a look at this circle. We know it's divided into 3 parts, so my denominator is 3. If I give you this part, I'm giving you 1 part out of 3, or 1/3. That would be a unit fraction because I am saying you have 1/3. If I gave you 2 of these, we would say that I gave you 2/3. Is 2/3 a unit fraction? Well, I know I just read that all fractions that have a 1 as the numerator is a unit fraction. 2/3 has a 2 as the numerator. 2/3 would not be considered a unit fraction. A unit fraction has to have a 1 as the numerator. Let me put these back up. So if I just had 1 piece of these pies, I would have a unit fraction. What is this unit fraction? Yes, if you said 1/4, you are correct. 1/4 is a unit fraction because there's a 1 for the numerator. So here are my 1/5. Here I'm holding a unit fraction because there is a 1 as my numerator. 1/5. How many unit fractions make up this green circle? How many unit fractions make up that green circle? This is a unit fraction because there's a 1 as the numerator. 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5. 5 unit fractions make up that green circle. Let's say these circles are your favorite cookies, and I divide these cookies up. So let's say I have a couple of cookies and I divided 1 in halves. So I have 1/2 and 1/2. I divided them into halves. And then I have this one that's divided into fourths. And I'm going to give 1 unit fraction. I'm going to give 1 unit fraction to you. So I'm going to give you this unit fraction, 1/2. And then I'm going to give myself a different kind of cookie, but I'm going to give myself 1/4 of a cookie. Which unit fraction is bigger? 1/2, 1/2, 1 part out of 2 parts, or 1 part out of 4 parts, 1/4. Which one's bigger? Yeah, half is bigger than a fourth. So if you notice, the more pieces you have, the smaller the pieces are. 1/5 is smaller than 1/4. Even though the number 5 is a bigger number, when it's the denominator, that means that that's how many pieces my whole is divided into. So the more pieces we have, the smaller those pieces are. So 1/5 is smaller than 1/3. 1/5 is smaller than 1/4, and I can see that it's smaller. 1/5 is smaller than a half. Let's go ahead and take a look at my cards I have here. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to take this down. Let's go ahead and take a look at some circles, and we're going to compare them. Here I have a circle divided into 3 parts. The shaded part is 1, so we would say this is 1/3. 1/3 is a unit fraction because it has a 1 as the numerator. Let's compare 1/3 with this one. Let's compare it with this unit fraction. 1/3, and what would this fraction be? What would the shaded part tell us this fraction would be? Well, let's count how many parts we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1/7. So here we have 1/3. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up there. 1/3, and this circle is divided into more parts, so the parts are a little bit smaller. 1/3, and this one is 1/7. So, which fraction is greater? Well, I remember this has 3 parts. The parts were bigger. This one had 7 parts, so the parts were smaller. 1 part out of 3 and 1 part out of 7. Which one's bigger? Yeah, 1/3 would be greater than. We would say 1/3 is greater than 1/7. And we know that the greater than symbol looks like it's eating the bigger piece, right? The bigger part. Let's look at another one. Let's keep 1/7 up there. This one might be a little tricky. Let's take a look at 1/7 again this way. So this is 1/7. We know it's divided into 7 parts. 1/7. This one looks like it's divided into smaller pieces. Let's count and see how many pieces there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. Has more pieces to it. 1/9. So, which one would be bigger? 1/9 or 1/7? 1/7 is bigger. But if I have them like this, which symbol am I going to use? Am I going to say greater than? 1/9 is greater than 1/7. No, I'm not going to say greater than, because the greater than symbol would be facing this direction. But this is bigger. 1/7 is bigger. So we're going to use less than. 1/9 is less than 1/7.